Hey UConn fans, welcome to this week's episode of UC Sports. Alongside Justin Valverde, I'm Noam. We're at the desk for our first shows, and we've got a great one in store for you tonight.
That's right, Noam. We've got updates from football's big loss in the Carrier Dome, field hockey continuing their dominant ways, the start of AAC action for soccer and field hockey, and more.
I can't wait to get started. UC Sports starts right now. The UConn football team entered the Carrier Dome in Syracuse with a 1-2 record, a 2.5% chance to win according to ESPN, and the worst defense in college football, allowing 56 points and 673 yards per game. The young defense was no match for Syracuse senior quarterback Eric Dungy, who led Cuse to a 51-21 victory. Dungy torched the Huskies, going 21 of 27 for 286 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for 77 yards and 3 more. For UConn, it started off with a strong drive, derailed by a David Pindell fumble deep in Syracuse territory. They quickly went down 21-0 before Pindell split the defense and showed off his speed on a 75-yard touchdown run. The rest of the game was all orange, including a 69-yard punt return touchdown to cap it off, bringing Syracuse's record to 4-0 for the first time since 1991. The Orange travel to number 3 Clemson next week, looking to pull off the upset for the second straight year against the Tigers. That game is sure to feature a lot of bright orange, so pull out your sunglasses if you're planning on watching. Meanwhile, the Huskies return home on Saturday for Huskies and Heroes Day at the Rent. They will square off against 4-0 Cincinnati, who squeaked by Ohio this past Saturday. Kickoff is set for 3:30.
While the football team looks to find their groove, the field hockey team continues to dominate as defending champions. The Huskies have played 8 games this season, and 5 of them have been against ranked opponents, all wins. This weekend featured the latest game in their loaded schedule on the road against number 11 Old Dominion, who also came up into the matchup undefeated. UConn struck first and early with Svea Boker scoring less than 3 minutes into the game. Both teams were held scoreless until Old Dominion struck 4 minutes into the second half to tie it. The game remained tied until 40 minutes into the second half when Cecile Piper scored off a corner penalty, and she struck again less than a minute later. Jessica Dombrowski put them up by 3 as the clock tickled down, and an Old Dominion goal with 2 seconds remaining put the final score at UConn 4, Old Dominion 2. The Huskies then traveled to William and Mary, who was 3-3, for a noon matchup on Sunday. The Tribe were no match for number 2 UConn, who won easily 6-1 with goals from Yacobucci, Boker, Ray, Guterham, Piper, and Tucker. The undefeated Huskies will look to continue their dominant ways when they face Temple at 6 p.m. in stores.
On Saturday night, the men's soccer team suffered their first minor setback at home this season as they played the University of South Florida to a 2-2 draw after regulation and 2 golden goal 10-minute overtime periods. The Huskies opened the scoring off a blast from Dayon Harris in the 7th minute that ricocheted into the back of the net. It was Harris's first career goal. The Bulls answered quickly as they scored off a corner kick set play in the 11th minute. The best scoring opportunity for the rest of the half came after Abdou Mbake-Jam headed one into the box that was batted around before finally being cleared away by USF. The score stayed knotted at 1 until South Florida took the lead in the 77th minute. That lead didn't last long, though, as Mbake-Jam used his head to tickle the twine, blasting one in off a cross from Harris. It was his 6th goal of the young season and 37th of his career. From that point on, the defense tightened up, and at the final whistle, the teams were tied at 2. UConn finished with 9 shots to USF's 8. There was some consolation for the UConn goal patrol as the USF goalie and fan favorite Harrison Devonish Mears took some time to share his Australian accent and hairstyle with the student section. The Huskies moved to 4-2-1, and the Bulls are now 2-5-1. Justin, how'd the women's soccer team do this weekend?
The women's soccer team started their Texas tour on Thursday as they began AAC play. After falling to Houston 2-3, they looked to even their conference record with a matchup on Sunday at SMU, who had won 4 of their 5 previous entering this game. SMU struck first with a goal 12 minutes in, but Elena Santos was quick to tie it only 3 minutes later. Unfortunately, that was the only goal the Huskies had in them, and the Mustangs scored again in the 26th minute to go ahead 2-1. A pair of goals in the second half for SMU sealed the game as the Huskies fell to 0-6 on the road, 2-9 overall, and still looking for their first conference win. Their next opportunity will be on Thursday at home against USF. We have to take a quick commercial break, and when we return, we've got women's ice hockey action back in stores. Stay tuned.
As the weather begins to cool down, the UConn women's hockey team is ready to start heating up. On Saturday afternoon, they opened up their preseason action, losing 4-2 to the Schenken KRS Vanke Rays at Freitas Ice Forum. Junior Catherine Crawley found the back of the net off assists from Taylor Wabeck and Natalie Snodgrass, who is looking to build off a dominant freshman year. As a freshman last year, Snodgrass led the Huskies with 21 goals and 17 assists. With 15 players returning, the Huskies are looking to improve on a 16-4-9 mark from last season.
The UConn volleyball team didn't start their AAC and Texas play as they hoped, falling to SMU in 4 sets 3-1 on Friday. But they bounced back against 13-3 Houston on Sunday in 4 sets. They had 3 players with double-digit kills and were close to a sweep until they fell 25-23 in the 3rd set. A 25-18 fourth set secured the win for the Huskies as they earned their first AAC win of the season and improved to 9-6 on the season. They continue their road trip against Temple on the 28th at 6 p.m.
Fans of the UConn men's basketball team had been growing concerned recently due to a lack of recruits for the 2019 season. The need for concern was broken on Tuesday when 4-star shooting guard James Bouknight committed to the Huskies. Bouknight is ranked 87th in the ESPN Top 100 and picked UConn over Virginia Tech, Miami, VCU, Indiana, and more. He announced his decision on Twitter and told ESPN that Coach Hurley's track record and UConn's winning tradition and history of putting guys in the NBA weighed heavily in his decision. 2 days later, he was tweeting at UConn recruit Jalen Gaffney, telling him to be a part of something special in stores. The Twitter magic must have worked, as just 4 days later, Gaffney announced his decision to play at UConn on Twitter. Gaffney is a 4-star point guard from Pennsylvania, and the duo will hope to become the next great UConn backcourt.
It's great that the recruits are starting to come in, and we know the UConn Huskies are still looking to get players like Precious Achua, Kofi Cockburn, and Akaka Cock, and other top recruits to help get this program back on track to win national championships.
It's now time for our Kyrie Irving tracker, our Huskies in the Pros section of this show. But, as many of you know, Kyrie Irving was on campus this past Saturday, stopping for pictures near alumni and in the bookstore before disappearing into the evening. Throughout the afternoon, crowds of students were seen running around campus looking for the NBA's most mysterious player. Kyrie has had ties with the UConn women's basketball team, including extensive meetings with Gino Auriemma, being a personal favorite of Breanna Stewart, and releasing shoes to commemorate UConn's 91st consecutive win a few seasons back.
Moving away from Kyrie, the MLB playoffs begin next week, and a number of Huskies will be playing key roles. Red Sox reliever Matt Barnes is back from injury and ready to help the back end of the bullpen for the scorching Sox. Rajai Davis, in his 13th season, is looking to be the veteran presence the Indians need to end their 69-year World Series drought. George Springer looks to mash the Astros to a World Series repeat, and Rockies reliever Scott Oberg is doing his best to guide the Rockies into the playoffs, carrying a 2.65 ERA and a 7-1 record with him. Well, that's all we have for tonight's UC Sports, but make sure to tune in next week for more updates.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at UCTV Sports and subscribe to our YouTube channel, UCTV Channel 14, to keep up to date on all things UConn athletics as they happen. For Justin Valverde and the crew, I'm Noam Watt. Have a great week and go Huskies!